Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Diane Keaton. Diane Keaton is an American film actress, director and producer. She began her career on stage and made her screen debut in 1970. Her first major film role was as Kay Adams-Corleone in The Godfather. But the films that shaped her early career were those with director and co-star Woody Allen, beginning with Play It Again, Sam in 1972. Her next two films with Allen, Sleeper and Love and Death, established her as a comic actor. Her fourth, Annie Hall, won her the Academy Award for Best Actress. Keaton subsequently expanded her range to avoid becoming typecast as her Annie Hall persona. She became an accomplished dramatic performer, starring in Looking for Mr. Goodbar, and received Academy Award nominations for Reds, Marvin's Room and Something's Gotta Give. Some of her popular later films include Baby Boom, Father of the Bride, The First Wives Club, and The Family Stone. Keaton's films have earned a cumulative gross of over $1.1 billion in North America. In addition to acting, she is also a photographer, real estate developer, author, and occasional singer. Early life and education. Diane Keaton was born as Diane Hall on January 5, 1946, in Los Angeles, California. Her mother, Dorothy Diane, was a homemaker and amateur photographer. Her father, John Newton Ignatius Jack Hall, was a real estate broker and civil engineer. Keaton was raised a Free Methodist by her mother. Her mother won the Mrs. Los Angeles pageant for homemakers. Keaton has said that the theatricality of the event inspired her first impulse to be an actress and led to her wanting to work on stage. She has also credited Katharine Hepburn, whom she admires for playing strong and independent women, as one of her inspirations. Keaton is a 1964 graduate of Santa Ana High School in Santa Ana, California. During her time there, she participated in singing and acting clubs at school, and starred as Blanche Dubois in a school production of A Streetcar Named Desire. After graduation, she attended Santa Ana College and later Orange Coast College as an acting student, but dropped out after a year to pursue an entertainment career in Manhattan. Upon joining the Actors Equity Association, she changed her surname to Keaton, her mother's maiden name, as there was already an actress registered under the name of Diane Hall. For a brief time, she also moonlighted at nightclubs with a singing act. She would later revisit her nightclub act in Annie Hall and So It Goes, and a cameo in Radio Days. Keaton began studying acting at the Neighborhood Playhouse in New York City. She initially studied acting under the Meisner technique, an ensemble acting technique first evolved in the 1930s by Sanford Meisner, a New York stage actor, acting coach, director who had been a member of the group theater. She has described her acting technique as being only as good as the person you're acting with, as opposed to going it on my own and forging my path to create a wonderful performance without the help of anyone. I always need the help of everyone, according to Jack Nicholson. She approaches a script sort of like a play in that she has the entire script memorized before you start doing the movie, which I don't know any other actors doing that. In 1968, Keaton became a member of the Tribe and understudy to Sheila in the original Broadway production of Hair. She gained some notoriety for her refusal to disrobe at the end of Act 1 when the cast performs nude, even though nudity in the production was optional for actors. After acting in Hair for 9 months, she auditioned for a part in Woody Allen's production of Play It Again, Sam. After nearly being passed over for being too tall, she won the part. 1970s. After being nominated for a Tony Award for Play It Again, Sam Keaton made her film debut in Lovers and Other Strangers. She followed with guest roles on the television series Love, American Style and Night Gallery, and Mannix. Between films, Keaton appeared in a series of deodorant commercials. Keaton's breakthrough role came 2 years later when she was cast as Kay Adams, the girlfriend and eventual wife of Michael Corleone in Francis Ford Coppola's 1972 film The Godfather. Coppola noted that he first noticed Keaton in Lovers and Other Strangers, and cast her because of her reputation for eccentricity that he wanted her to bring to the role. Her performance in the film was loosely based on her real-life experience of making the film, both of which she has described as being the woman in a world of men. The Godfather was an unparalleled critical and financial success, becoming the highest-grossing film of the year and winning the Best Picture Oscar of 1972. 2 years later she reprised her role as Kay Adams in The Godfather Part 2. She was initially reluctant, stating that, at first, "I was skeptical about playing Kay again in The Godfather sequel, but when I read the script, the character seemed much more substantial than in the first movie." In Part 2, her character changed dramatically, becoming more embittered about her husband's activities. Even though Keaton received widespread exposure from the films, her character's importance was minimal. Time wrote that she was invisible in The Godfather and pallid in The Godfather Part 2. Keaton's other notable films of the 1970s included many collaborations with Woody Allen. Although, by the time they made films together, the romantic involvement had ended. She played many eccentric characters in several of his comic and dramatic films, including Sleeper, Love and Death, Interiors, Manhattan, and the film version of Play It Again. Sam, directed by Herbert Ross. Allen has credited Keaton as his muse during his early film career. In 1977, Keaton starred with Allen in the romantic comedy Annie Hall, one of her most famous roles. Annie Hall, written by Allen and Marshall Brickman and directed by Allen, was believed to be autobiographical of his relationship with Keaton. Allen based the character of Annie Hall loosely on Keaton. Many of Keaton's mannerisms and her self-deprecating sense of humor were added into the role by Allen. Keaton has also said that Allen wrote the character as an idealized version of herself. The two starred as a frequently on-again, off-again couple living in New York City. Her acting was later summed up by CNN as awkward, self-deprecating, speaking in endearing little whirlwinds of semi-logic, and by Allen as a nervous breakdown in slow motion. The film was both a major financial and critical success, and won the Academy Award for Best Picture. Keaton's performance also won the Academy Award for Best Actress. In 2006, Premiere Magazine ranked Keaton in Annie Hall as 60th on its list of the 100 greatest performances of all time, and noted, "It's hard to play ditzy. The genius of Annie is that despite her loopy backhand, awful driving, and nervous tics, she's also a complicated, intelligent woman." Keaton brilliantly displays this dichotomy of her character, especially when she yammers away on a first date with Alvy while the subtitle reads, "He probably thinks I'm a yo-yo, yo-yo." Hardly. Keaton's eccentric wardrobe in Annie Hall, which consisted mainly of vintage men's clothing, including neckties, vests, baggy pants, and fedora hats, made her an unlikely fashion icon of the late 1970s. A small amount of the clothing seen in the film came from Keaton herself, who was already known for her tomboyish clothing style years before Annie Hall, and Ruth Morley designed the movie's costumes. Soon after the film's release, men's clothing and pantsuits became popular attire for women. She is known to favor men's vintage clothing, and usually appears in public wearing gloves and conservative attire. Her photo, by Douglas Kirkland, appeared on the cover of the September 26, 1977, issue of Time magazine, with the story dubbing her the funniest woman now working in films. Later that year, she departed from her usual light-hearted comic roles when she won the highly coveted lead role in the drama Looking for Mr. Goodbar, based on the novel by Judith Rosner. In the film, she played a Catholic schoolteacher for deaf children who lives a double life, spending nights frequenting singles bars and engaging in promiscuous sex. Keaton became interested in the role after seeing it as a psychological case history. The same issue of Time commended her role choice and criticized the restricted roles available for female actors in American films. A male actor can fly a plane, fight a war, shoot a Batman, pull off a sting, impersonate a big cheese in business or politics. Men are presumed to be interesting. A female can play a wife, play a whore, get pregnant, lose her baby, and, let's see. Women are presumed to be dull. Now a determined trend spotter can point to a handful of new films whose makers think that women can bear the dramatic weight of a production alone, or virtually so. Then there is Diane Keaton in Looking for Mr. Goodbar. As Teresa Dunn, Keaton dominates this raunchy, risky, violent dramatization of Judith Rosner's 1975 novel about a schoolteacher who cruises singles bars. In addition to acting, Keaton has stated that, "I had a lifelong ambition to be a singer." She had a brief, unrealized career as a recording artist in the 1970s. Her first record was an original cast recording of Hair, in 1971. In 1977, she began recording tracks for a solo album, but the finished record never materialized. Keaton met with more success in the medium of still photography. Like her character in Annie Hall, Keaton had long relished photography as a favorite hobby, an interest she picked up as a teenager from her mother. While traveling in the late 1970s, she began exploring her vocation more seriously. Rolling Stone had asked me to take photographs for them, and I thought, wait a minute, what I'm really interested in is these lobbies and these strange ballrooms in these old hotels, so I began shooting them, she recalled in 2003. These places were deserted, and I could just sneak in any time and nobody cared. It was so easy. And I could do it myself. It was an adventure for me. Reservations. Her collection of photos of hotel interiors was published in book form in 1980. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.